Hi folks, a lot of people have asked me how I did the old leathery book type texture on the book that I did for Fiona as a gift for her birthday. It was the expedition journal. I'll show you a photograph of it now. A lot of people asked how I did the texture. It actually looked like real old cracked leather. So I'll show you a photograph of the close-up of the book right now. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to do this on a piece of chipboard I'm hoping it works on chipboard like it did on the paper, because I'm sure it shouldn't be any different. So what I did was, first of all, I gave the paper a coat of gesso. I'll just do this really quickly. And then I'm just going to give that a quick dry off, because you need a second coat of gesso. Okay, that should be dry enough for the second coat. This is just white gesso I'm using, and I got it in the works. Can't really tip it, but I bought it for $4.99. It's a great big 500ml tub, so it lasts a good while. So just give this another coat of gesso. Now, a lot of people ask what gesso is. It's a primer. It helps other paint and other mediums to stick to that surface. I actually find whenever I use gesso, it actually does have a bit of a sticky texture almost to it whenever it's dry. So it just helps everything stick to it better than just painting straight onto the board. Because then sometimes you can see the board underneath because it hasn't been primed underneath. So I suggest getting yourself a tub of gesso. It's great stuff. Just try that. Okay, that should be dry enough, so I'm just going to get my paint ready and be back. Okay, so this is completely dry now. It's had its 2 coats of white gesso. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add thick layers of burnt umber paint. Now, I don't know what it is about this particular make, but you see their burnt umber? It is always disgustingly thick and gloopy. So what I did is I watered it down a wee bit just to get a proper paint texture. Now, it's still not perfect, but it'll do for now. But what I do with this is I mix some Crackle Medium in with it. This is the one I use. I absolutely love it. So I use about, say, to that amount, probably a third of the Crackle Medium, then maybe a wee bit more, just under half ratio to paint. So we'll just pour some of this in. There we go, and just give that a bit of a mix. I'm going to paint this on quite thick. And then I'm going to use a colour that you'll probably think my head's cut over the top of it, but you'll see what I do with it after. So give that a good old mix. Just do an even amount at the start and then you can go back over it. I just kept going over mine till I got a good thick consistency on the card or the paper. Sorry, good thick coat, not consistency. So obviously I'm just working on a piece of chipboard here, but you'll do it on your book cover, whatever you're working on. I'm sure you could do it on a box as well to make it like an old leather type box. Alright, that's sort of tacky and sticky. So what I'm going to use now over the top of this, and you'll probably think my head's cut, I am using Distress Crackle Paint Scattered Straw. This is the only Distress Crackle paint I have, but it actually does work, the scattered straw, and I'll show you why. What I did was I just sort of stuck my fingers in it, to be perfectly honest. I didn't use the brush because I didn't want to get it dirty. So, oh, my nails are all long too, but I just took, oops, sorry. Took my finger and went over in spots. So if you're doing this on your book, just do it in a few wee places. I'm just showing you on this for now. Doing quite a bit just for the sake of the camera. So you can see there that it's getting small cracks in it. Just bring that up so you can see. See the small cracks in it? That's what you want. You don't want real large, massive cracks. You just want sort of nice wee cracks like this. A few bigger ones is fine, but as long as you're not going for the large massive ones like you would do maybe on an altered box or whatever, because you want this to look like an old leather cracked book. You want it to look as similar to an old leather bound book as possible. So this is the way I found I was able to achieve it. So I'll just give this a quick wee dry, and you'll see it's quite small cracks in it. So obviously you don't want the leather, or you know, if it's meant to be a leather book, a brown leather book, you don't want this yellow showing. So what I did again, get the old fingers into the paint, and I took the brown paint with the Crackle Medium mix and just used my finger again. But I used, you know, I put quite a thin coat on. I don't want it thick on the top layer because you still want those cracks showing. Looks a disaster right now. I'll just give it a quick dry. And I can already see it's getting this sort of texture of old leather. It's getting that shiny look about it, and then the small cracks, the lumpy bumpy bits. So I'll just bring this up to show you, to see if you can see it. Do you see that? Sort of like old leather texture. Now I'm still not finished because, you know, obviously it's still not perfect. You can see all that texture, it's absolutely incredible. Sorry, I'm blathered obviously. So just let that cool down for a wee second. So what I did then, now I didn't use the heat tool in any of this, I just let it dry naturally as I was working on it. So, you know, because I was doing a book cover, so by the time I got from one bit to the other part was dry or almost dry and ready for me to move on to the next section. So I'll just get the next part ready. Okay, to give it the mahogany sort of old leather look, I'm going to be using rub-ons. So what I used in the book that I made for Fiona, I used the gold metallic rub-ons, and I actually used purple. You probably think my head's Wow with the Fairies, but sure, you know that it is already, but I used the purple, but it looks absolutely fantastic, so I'll just have a go now. This is going to be good fun using my nails. Trying to find the nail that's the shortest. Right. You have to sort of use the heat from your fingers to warm these rub-ons a wee bit because it needs to soften. So just do that and start rubbing the gold on in various places, wherever you find you want to add it. And using the rub-ons as well brings up the cracks and the texture. Just rub that in well. And you can see that that's picked up all those gorgeous cracks and bumps and lumps. It's really starting to look like old worn leather now. Now time for the purple, and that'll give it the sort of mahogany look that you get in some leather bound books. You don't have to do it all over the book, you can just do it in different bits and pieces like I did. And you can carry on, you can add more gold if you want, or use whatever colour you want. You can try silver and the red, or I think I actually might have put a wee bit of green in it as well. So there you have it. Oh wow, that in real life this looks absolutely amazing, so I just hope that the camera's good enough to bring up the actual texture. It really does look like an old piece of leather. It even feels like leather. That's incredible. So there it is. I'll try and show you. It's sort of got the shine that leather has. And you can see the texture. Look at that, isn't that amazing? Just love those small cracks. Texture is absolutely fantastic. And there you have it, folks. That's how I did the cover on my expedition journal. If you have any questions at all, just give me a shout in the comment section below. And that's it. Hopefully you like this tutorial. Just give me a shout if there's any queries or questions at all, and I love reading all your comments. Thanks very much everybody. Bye.